do something significant here.
Nope.
And like Taylor says, Bo Melton stock just went up. And as Tauscher said earlier today, and again, we'll talk more in detail in a minute, but Tauscher said today, the more you can do, the more valuable you are. So I don't know. Right. I'm just kind of sitting back, Tim, going, I really don't know what the hell to think, to be honest with you.
And it's too early to really make any, sweeping judgments or predictions, right? Like, this is what they're working with right now. I mean, whether it's Bo, playing both sides of the ball or whatever, or it's, Big E being at camp but not doing anything. Hey, this is kind of part of what you go through this time of year, no matter what your organization is doing or what situation you're in. You're going to have a few of these contract renegotiations. You're going to have some, juggling of the personnel. You're going to have some expected, unexpected releases from your roster that you're going to have to deal with. So I wouldn't put too much stock into what we're seeing right now, with mandatory minicamp. If this was training camp and we were seeing this and it was consistent, you might want to jump on the train and get a little excited about what you're seeing, with guys like Bo Melton maybe playing a little defense or, guys shuffling around. But I think right now we're just at mandatory, workouts right now. So we should just kind of digest all this and take it as it comes.
Completely agree. Elder Grimm said, what happened to the old Shannon Sharp soundbite? LOL. Yeah, it got the axe, man, and for no specific reason. Some people are probably thinking, I think I know, because he was in the news here a little while ago. But really, we've only got so many spots here on the program. We'll hit you with one of these.
Could be a crackhead who got hold to the wrong stuff.
So there you go. There's your.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
All right, let's dive into it. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. There was a new quarterback working out today, gents. Look at this guy right here.
He's played a little quarterback in his day, right?
Yeah, you know it. As a matter of fact, Tim, look at this shot right here. Look at that guy. You kidding me?
There it is.
That's Mr. Steal Your Girl right there.
Right there. Hey, go back up. Let's see.
Oh, index finger on the ball, baby. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, QB number 5. Let's go.
Now, you'll notice the flash in the screen. It was actually a pick 6. Watch. That's a DB picking the ball off right there. So he was throwing the drill to the DBs. So it's pretty cool, though, seeing Matt out there. You can tell he's taking it way too serious.
And he snapped. You see him snap to the right. First read wasn't there. Second read wasn't there. Get over to the third.
Look at the follow through too. Flick of the wrist, index down. Humming that tater, baby.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Man. Yeah, let's see. Let's slow it down. Let's do a little chalk talk here. Let's make sure his index finger stays on the ball here.
No, it's all about the footwork. Restart it. Let's see that drop, man.
All right, here comes the drop. Clean footwork.
1, 2, 3.
Oh. He drug that out a little bit. I don't know, Coach.
In between 3 and 4.
5.5 step drop, right?
Yeah, let's see if the index finger stays on the ball right here. Oh, yeah.
Look at that release, baby. Let's go. Still got it.
Yeah, 3/4 release, nothing over the top. Yeah.
Back in 82, I could throw a football over them mountains over there, boy.
That's the face, though. That face right there is the face I make after eating Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? Right there. All night long. So, anyway, Coach LaFleur out there spinning that sucker. I think it's absolutely awesome. So, also today, just to kind of give everybody an update on who was there, who practiced, who didn't. Shout out to Wes Hodkowitz, who tweeted this out. Welcome to Packers minicamp. 10 players not practicing today, and those players were Quay Walker, Michael Robinson, Kalen King, who had a cast on his right arm, Zane Anderson, who is no longer a real person, evidently, Colin Oliver, Aaron Banks, Elgton Jenkins, John Williams, Christian Watson, and Julian Hicks. Now, there's a couple of those that don't surprise us at all with Elgton and Christian Watson, obviously. Colin Oliver, listen, this is nothing to be worried over, right? And I think it was mentioned earlier that Kalen King, they're not overly concerned with Kalen King. That cast will be off. He'll be good to go for training camp, whatever the injury was. I like to think that he got into a fight with somebody who's running their mouth, and the other person, took the brunt of that wrist, that hand. You know what I mean? Somebody had to catch those hands from Kalen King. So I think he'll be fine. Again, when you look at this list, I'm not overly concerned, but I will say this, a Christian Watson, kind of exciting. We'll see a little clip of him here in a second. But with this list initially here, Emilio, what do you think? Is there anything to mention here? Anything we might be overlooking or not?
Yeah. Just a couple young guys there and some new talent. I mean, you're talking Micah, Kalen, Colin, new, young, and then you got Aaron Banks, new, Elton going to a new position, obviously, but he knows what's going on. John Williams, young and new, Christian Watson, and Hicks there. I'm not mad at it. You're going to have injuries. You never know what the 53 is going to look like at the start and at the end. So if it happens now, I mean, more power to him to get back. I think Matt was saying that in his presser that Kalen, he's got the shoulder on now, but he said, he'll be out the rest of this mini, but he'll be good to go for training camp.
Good deal. Respect Orange. It says Emilio broke his hand once from patting himself on the back too hard. So
it was my wrist, actually, but yes.
Tim, anything stick out to you here, big dog, with this list here?
Yeah, great point by Emilio. A lot of these names, it's nothing to get, super overly concerned about, right? We knew Scoot was going to be out and miss some time, right? A lot of these are not surprises, but, the first name on the list kind of sticks out to me. My boy Quay. I'm wondering what's going on. Nagging injury from last year. There could be an abundance of reasons why.
Could they be getting his contract done, Tim?
Could be that. It could be the very similar situation to what we're dealing with Big E right now. So I don't know, but that would be the only one that I might raise an eyebrow at, wondering why my boy Quay's not out there getting those reps in. But you guys know how I feel about our linebacker room. More reps for the young guys. Let them get it. So We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and there's no pads on, right, Clay? So it's not like you're losing physical reps. You're losing mental reps and, kind of going through the motions. As long as you're there paying attention, though, you should be able to step in and do that when you get to it, in the summer.
I think we got a clip from Big E earlier today talking with Jacob Monk as Jacob Monk was taking reps, almost like he was helping coach up Jacob Monk. This is strictly contractual. This is something where, hey, this is a little bit of leverage for him. Let's get this deal worked out, get a little extra guaranteed money, and then we'll be off and running. So I'm not too concerned about. Matt Schneidman put a similar tweet out just to kind of cross-check everything in case we missed something. Elgton Jenkins here at practice, but with the rehab group. They said he was riding the bike most of the day, just working on cardio, I'm sure. Kalen King has a cast on his right wrist and isn't practicing. We talked that Matt LaFleur said he'll be ready to go for training camp and then also not participating. See if anybody else pops up here. I think they're all the same names, right? Aaron Banks, Christian Watson, Quay Walker, Zane Anderson, Colin Oliver, John Williams, Julian Hicks, and Michael Robinson. So looks like everybody kind of reported the same thing there. Let's go to the chat real quick. Chris Coleman said, anyone notice Savion wasn't doing push-ups with the rest of the offense was? Maybe injury related. We've been kind of speculating, Chris, and that's a good eye there, man. Appreciate that information. I didn't notice that, so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think there's rumors that he might have a little bit of a shoulder, and that's why they've had the red jersey on, that type of thing. Even though they're not tackling right now anyway, it's very, very low, if any, contact. You just want guys to be aware, hey, be extra cautious around this guy. I think that answers the question, don't you, Tim?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You guys see the clip Packers social media released a couple of days ago. I just kind of caught up on some things today getting back in town, and I saw the Matt LaFleur mic'd up. This was before minicamp. This was the last OTAs, and he was making comments basically saying, hey, it's really nice to be able to throw Savion a few balls, and he asked him how he was feeling catching the ball. You could see he had the shoulder immobilizer on. He had the whatever they call that, the cuff or the ring on the shoulder underneath the jersey, and I don't think it's anything more than what he was dealing with, last season, which cost him to miss the Senior Bowl. So probably just a shoulder issue, and they're just trying not to push too hard. So it is
that's what the chat's saying too. Eldergrim says he had a shoulder brace on. Holmes says his shoulder's jacked up. Chris says he's worried about that. Listen, it's not good news, that's for sure. So hopefully everything will work out okay.
I think the good news is that he's wearing a red jersey and he's out there participating, and he's not sitting at home playing, Madden against Emilio online. That's a good scenario.
On rookie.
That is a good scenario.
Greg Rice says, was he throwing in the red jersey? I've heard people say that on Twitter. I have yet to see a video of him playing quarterback. Yeah. So I think the early thing was everybody's like, whoa, they're going to put him in at Wildcat quarterback or something, and they may do that at some point during the season. But I think the red jersey is more along the shoulder thing.
Yeah, precautionary move, probably.
Exactly. So Coach Lynn says still the shoulder. 2-0 for this says, Doc, is jacked up true medical terminology? It is for this stupid show, right, Doc?
Doc reeled it in here. Shoulder harness, probably a rotator cuff strain.
There we go.
Dude, I've got two. Boy, They're in bad shape, Emilio, from these walk behinds.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's
weed eating one-handed will do it too.
I think the goal is 50. When I hit 50, I'm going to shut it down and go get both surgeries on both shoulders, and we'll just enjoy the rest of life up in Green Bay. You know what I mean? I think that's what we'll probably end up doing. So we'll see how that goes. Manny might have different plans for me as well. Chris Coleman says, Watson back in September. Man, I wish, Chris.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Holmes. Anytime someone asks a question like that, I immediately try to give an honest answer. And the way I do that, Emilio, is I run it through the filter of got to bet the farm. When's he coming back? Right. And that really takes the emotion out.
Yeah.
I don't think September. If I had to bet the farm, I would not say September, Chris.
No.
October
before Thanksgiving, maybe we'll take that.
October still seems like a stretch. Yeah. November, I think when we hit November 1st, if he's not back yet, unless there's reports coming out he had a setback, Emilio, I think we're going to be like, yeah, he's any day now. Now we may get surprised, kind of like Rashawn Gary. You guys remember that? All of a sudden, he just he popped up and he was ready to go. We were like, what? How did he recover that quick? But we know. I want to say we know how Rashawn Gary is. He works as hard as anyone. You know, he's one of those just athletic freaks. He's an off-season grinder. But Christian Watson is too, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So Jay Love was saying that in his presser that, you know, Watson, his life has been rehabbing day in and day out, just rehab. I mean, imagine not working 5 days a week. It's 7. I bet it's 6 or 7 days a week for Christian. Doing, you know, strength training, flexibility training. Biggest thing after that ACL is you got to get full extension, which he's already passed, obviously. Get that height, get a little bit of hyperextension just so you know that you have that full movement and get that full close. I'm happy, man. The fact that he's coming back like that. If he comes back by September, that's like GTA 6 coming out this year, right, Clay? I don't see it happening. But November's the shot.
As George Dubb once said, "Fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah.
Fool me twice. You fool me once, you can't fool me again."
Can't fool me again.
Tim, I don't know, man. Christian looks healthy, dude. Like is it just me or does he just look like he's really filled out now? Like we talked about his legs being bigger last year, like he put on a little bit of weight and it looks like he got in the weight room. To me, though, I don't know, the shoulders look a little broader to me. Am I wrong here?
I don't think you're wrong. I'm seeing that a little bit. And maybe that has to do with the fact that, you know, he's rehabbing the lower body injury, which may allow you to go a little harder on your upper body, you know, workout. And so maybe he bulked up a little bit in the chest and shoulders and his back, you know, and then he's working, obviously, you know, the lower end trying to get back on the field. You know, we haven't really seen him, you know, run and stick that leg in the ground and cut and make a move quite yet full speed. So we don't know, but I will tell you this, him being here, you can see him with Tay Wicks, Matt Golden in the background there. Looked like Savion Williams was over there. I don't know if this is like rehab group or conditioning group, whatever it is, but him being at camp and in the building, engaged and just doing what he can physically is a really good sign at this point in the year. So I don't think it's crazy to think that he could come back a little bit ahead of schedule. It's just we might want to temper our expectations when, you know, predicting when we think that might be. I'm with you, Clayton. I think, you know, early November would be probably the earliest you'd see him hit the field again, but we don't know yet. Time will tell, but he looks good right now, man.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Who's that cat that snuck into practice back there in the gray Swiss? Look like he's trying to steal stuff off the goodie table back there. You see him back?
That's a smart man.
Man, that's it. Let's get a GPS locator on Big B. Make sure he didn't.
I thought you were going to say Jacob.
It's Jacob. No, if it was Jacob, you'd see a polo where he'd be doing that upside down, got the ankle hooked around the pole.
You'd see him brushing the beard.
What leg is it for Christian? Is it his right leg?
Oh man, let's see.
I thought it was his left knee.
I want to say I want to say he originally hurt the right.
Okay.
With the knee bruise, but it was the left that he tore the ACL. I could be completely wrong. Somebody help us out in the chat.
Just because I was kind of seeing, I mean, if it's his left, he used a lot of his left leg on that turn, like the turn and pivot. Like when your foot's in the ground and you're still like turning and pivoting on your toes being in the ground, that's a lot on your knee. I mean, being able to like Too Old for This was saying, Christian Watson has incredible that what we've seen him, no knee sleeve, no brace, and moving like nothing happened. Those twists and plants on the field right there and landing one-legged, you know, carrying all your weight, something like that, that is impressive.
Yeah. Too Old for This says Christian Watson's been incredible in what we have seen him. no knee sleeve, no brace, and moving like nothing happened. I mean, and again, we haven't seen him sprint 60 yards, right? Too old for this. Yep. I heard Wildy say that too. Like, hey, it's not like he's, going for 50-yard bombs here, but everything you've seen so far, so good, which is great, man. I want him to just come back and put all the doubters in check. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? So
we have to tip our caps to the medical staff and just modern medicine as a whole with these athletes, right? ACL used to be a career ender, MCL used to be a career ender. Now these guys are, they're getting state-of-the-art procedures, state-of-the-art rehab, doing everything they can to get back. And that's why we're seeing, I think, accelerated healing time and guys getting back on the field maybe a little bit sooner than they did even, 3 to 4 or 5 seasons ago. It's amazing how fast things are developing now. So big kudos to the athletic training and the doctors that have taken care of Scoot and these guys throughout this process, right?
Yeah, definitely. A shout out to Kyle Malzahn. He's the one who provided that video, and I caught it over on Sleeper Packers, at Sleeper Packers on X. You guys go give everybody a follow over there. Now, we were talking a little bit about Elgton Jenkins, and this is the clip with him with Monk. And again, I know some people are going to roll their eyes and say this ain't no big deal. This is nothing at all. I love it. Like, the fact that Elton's out here and kind of just, maybe giving advice and just being, it'd be real easy for him. Hey, I'm here so I don't get fined. And he's sitting over on the bench. You know what I mean? Just unplugged from everything. To me, this looks like best case scenario based off of the contractual situation that he's facing here, Tim. And again, if you think he should be practicing, look, we can agree to disagree. It's totally cool.
Yep.
I can understand where he's coming from. And I can also understand where the Packers are coming from. They structured this contract in a way, Tim, where they can, if for some reason Elton hits that wall and they decide they want to move on next year, they have covered their bases to where they can move on with very little salary cap ramifications. However, if you want him to change positions, lower that value, play center now, it's kind of give and take. I think you should meet in the middle somewhere there.
I agree. And I think that's why you're seeing what we're seeing, right? The Packers aren't, upset that he's doing what he's doing right now. They understand what's going on. And I think, to Big E's credit, you're right. He didn't just show up like, hey, I'm fulfilling my obligation. I'm going to go sit here and drink Gatorade all day and thumb at Instagram and not pay attention to anything, Yeah. He's engaged. Look at the extra reps that, our backup centers or potential backup centers are going to get. You're talking about anything X's and O's related or scheme wise or anything they're trying to do. He's engaged. He's hearing it. It doesn't matter if he's not out there jogging around in his, his underwear or whatever, who cares?
Right.
If this, like I said, if this was a few weeks from now and we're going into camp and, we still don't have something figured out, now I'm going to be a little bit concerned, but I think this is a testament to him being committed, but hey, I'm standing on business. This is a business. Nobody's wrong in this situation. This kind of reeks of the same thing with the Jair situation. You can feel how you want to feel about it. Both parties made their position known. They couldn't work out a resolution. They had to part ways, right? Well, I think we're going to see the opposite with Big E here. I think they're going to get something done that'll probably keep him in Green Bay at least until he's probably 34 years old, something like that. So just a matter of time.
Yeah, and Rod Jens here in the chat, thank you for the info, buddy. Said it was his right knee, so it was his right knee that he tore the ACL.
Okay. So he wasn't spinning and planting on that one, but he did jump up with a head explosion with it. So either way, honestly, the fact that he's not wearing a brace right now, I'm pretty sure I wore my brace for like a year plus, almost 2 years. Like I was just worried, it's just that mental hurdle.
Yeah, United Bates with the super chat. Thank you so much, Bates. He said when Watson went down and Bears cornerback Jalen Johnson immediately called for the medical staff and prayed for him. That was awesome. Rivalry aside, that's why I love the game. You couldn't have said it any better, Bates. Yep. And I remember part of me was like, damn it, I want to hate the Bears so bad, but in that moment it was like, what a classy move. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was just, yeah. And Jalen Johnson's one of those guys been vocal and talked a lot of trash in the rivalry and everything. But, yeah, mad respect. I love how Christian's mom responded on X, his dad as well. Like, yeah, you could just tell immediately Jalen knew what it was. We all knew what it was. Just as soon as it went down. So, very well said, Bates. And listen, man, I've always tried to get along with other fan bases because they're just as passionate about, whatever team they're following as we are. So we're like, there's that common ground. I will say though, man, social media is true. It's It's just a different animal. People don't talk to each other like that in real life. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. And that's why I try to just block people and move on. Every now and again, I'll get caught up in a little trash talking. But now my go-to, you guys see me do it on Twitter. The Bears start talking crap. I just hit them with that Kevin Hart carrying that thing. And it said, we're going to be here. We're going to be here.
Oh, that was – I saw that earlier.
Put literally all the wins that the Packers had in a row or what have you. So it was like the last, 20 meetings where the Packers just absolutely dominated. So
I usually hit it on the head there, Clay, like trash talk, right? That's talking trash, talking a little, throwing a little salt out there, seeing what it sprinkles on. Nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to wish injury or, terrible things to your rivals as much as you can't stand them. At the end of the day, man, this is a game. And I think Bates hit it on the head, dude. I remember that play. It kind of reminded me of, I'm aging myself here, but I remember watching Lawrence Taylor and Joe Theismann's career. And, the minute that play happened, the first person waving medical staff to the field was Lawrence Taylor. And he felt terrible about how that play turned out. And you look at Jalen Johnson and Scoot, that was a non-contact injury. So it wasn't even a crazy hit. And you've got a division rival, that's taken a minute to just, really be a good sport. And I think that in this day and age, like you said, with social media and a lot of the chitter chatter that goes on, we get lost in that respect of the game. So I think it's important to highlight things like that. Yeah, I really appreciate Bates bringing that up. It's true.
Just like when you got to go through the line after you get smoked in a game, you still got to go through shake hands, right, Clay? Yep. But playing baseball and all that, you got to do that, I'm sure.
I was telling a story to Eric just yesterday. I heard Another One Bites the Dust came on a video, and I was like, "God, I want to love the song, but I hate it so bad." And he was like, "Well, you hate it." And I explained to him that I won't go as in depth. I remember it like it was yesterday. This district tournament, my last game as a senior in high school baseball. And basically they won on a walk-off hit. And the way the play happened, again, I won't go into all the detail, but you could see the play happen. You knew they were going to score. And I'm talking about I go sliding toward the fence to grab a ball and throw it home to try to throw the guy out, knowing I didn't have a snowball chance in hell of making this play. And as I grabbed the ball, scooped it up to throw to home, they crossed the plate. And they immediately hit on the PA. Doom, doom, doom. Another one bites the dust. I was just so mad. I'm 42 years old, and to this day, when I hear that song, my ears just turn red. Dude.
Then you had to go shake their hands afterwards.
That was forget that. So Bates, thank you for the super chat. Also, let me throw this up here real quick. He sent me the clip. Hopefully, we don't get hit with anything. This is what he was talking about. We got to be kind of careful with these because they are cut from some TV broadcasts, but. And you don't actually see the injury. You just see him obviously on the ground. There it is right there. As you see Jalen Johnson, class act, man. Class act. It was definitely the right knee, as you can see here, and then goes down and prays for him. So, just a classy dude, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, who cares what uniform he's wearing, right?
Right.
Like, what difference does that make? That's a camaraderie between athletes right there. That's warriors in battle, and that's a mutual respect, and you love to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, man, all rivalry aside, when something like that happens, in mad respect to Jalen Johnson. Thank you for that super chat, Bates. Appreciate you, buddy. I love when Bates gives us money to add value.
Yeah, I was gonna say, send him his $10 back, man. We should be paying him for that.
Exactly. Something else that was mentioned here, Deadfish. I see your comment on Jair and the 1 year prove it. We'll get to that on the defensive side. I got it marked here because I definitely want to highlight that here in a minute. Zacchaeus Earls said, why do some Packer fans keep saying trade for Trey Hendrickson or TJ Watt? They're both about to be 31 in a few months. I would not risk doing that and giving either one a big contract. And that's the thing that people are overlooking, Zacchaeus. I think you hit the nail on the head, is the contract that you got to provide with it. If they were getting that contract with Pittsburgh or, in Trey Hendrickson's case with Cincinnati, which, by the way, boy, that is off the rails. Matter of fact, since we brung that up, and I know we're still talking offense, we'll just weave this in real quick. This is wild. You guys remember we were kind of worried we were going to draft Shamar Stewart.
Yep.
Going to be this project player and everything. I'm not going to play the clip because I don't know who owns rights to it, but this is a video. It's actually 33 seconds long. I think we're good here. So ML Football tweeted out, said, wow, first-round holdout Shamar Stewart went off on the Bengals. quote, I'm 100% right. It should be a no-brainer. In Trey's case, talking about Trey Hendrickson, it should be a no-brainer too. Y'all, talking about the Bengals, just want to win arguments more than winning games, in my opinion. Just wow. So is it just me, or did we – listen, the Bengals are a dumpster fire when it comes to this stuff. Don't get me wrong. Emilio, the big joking matter was Pat McAfee taking credit for them getting an indoor practice facility because they didn't have one before he started roasting them. And all of a sudden they built one. They're a weird organization, but man, you drafted this dude first round, letting some terminology, deter you from getting him under contract. But the other thing, man, with Shamar Stewart's like, could have done this anywhere, could have done this if we'd have drafted him and our first round pick sitting there. Right. And that's why you do the top 30 visits. We mentioned that top 30 means you're interested, right? Those 30 visits mean you're interested, but you're getting them in and you want to do an interview. Who knows, man? Goody could have done the interviewing process and had 2 or 3 of the lead scouts interview him and be like, nah, let's just stay away here.
Right, because that was the guy that was going to need to kill him again, right? That was another project guy, another one. Hey, he's a freak athlete. That's awesome, but how much time do we have? Who's going to do it? You're talking coaches again. I mean, Covington. Did you know? Are they going to be able to teach him those things? So yeah, I think it's huge. And I didn't even know that it was McAfee that got him to build that indoor. Because even when you drive by on the highway and you look down, it's like, dude, I was playing on a field like that in high school, like next to the highway. Like I remember high school games, like where people are honking as they're driving by at Friday night. You know what I mean? Like there's no way an NFL team is just playing underneath the highway.
Yeah, definitely. So back to Zacchaeus Earl's question here: Trey Hendrickson or T.J. Watt? They're both about to be 31. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to give them. They're probably looking for a 3-year deal with a bunch of guaranteed money, and we showed you guys T.J. Watt last year. Now, listen, it could have been a down year. He may rebound and be as dominant as he's ever been, but Lucas Van Ness had a higher pressure rate than him. He had a higher quarterback pressure percentage than T.J. Watt last year. And you guys know we've been as vocal as anyone, too, about Lucas Van Ness. He didn't have a great year. Mm-hmm. Now, he really improved in the second half of the season, and we had that progress stopper talk that we had mentioned, there with Preston Smith, and that might have helped once you got him out of the room. You can give LV in a few more snaps, but yeah, I'm not on board with trading for either of those guys. I'm just not, man. I'm trying to think of what position I would be okay with for a 1 year rental. Edge defender's tier 1, but it just, to me, it's not a 1 year rental, Tim. It's something you're going to lock them up for a few years and you're going to be stuck with some guaranteed money if it don't work out.
Yeah, edge would not be the first position group I'd look to target right now. And that's no disrespect to these two guys because they're obviously, at the top of their game. They're the elite of the elite in the NFL at what they do. Let's be honest. But they're getting older, right? Mm-hmm. I might take a 1 year rental on a corner.
That's what J. Cole said. Corner and what's up, Holmes?
Yeah, J. Cole. Yeah, what's up, Dr. Holmes? For sure. Corner maybe. With Ja's departure, and we've got a lot of young crop of talent there that you never know what you're gonna get, in the words of Forrest Gump. But I don't think it's worth pursuing guys like that, honestly. Interior D-line, maybe, if we can add somebody there, in the middle. But on the edge, I don't know.
Yeah. Marco Day says, so is this live? And, of course, Respect Orange just comes right back and said, no, this is suck. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, let's get back to offense, what we're supposed to be talking about here. But, again, that was a good conversation piece. We appreciate y'all chiming in with your comments in the chat. Hit that like button if you just jumped in. Feel free to sub to the channel if you're new here. You'll probably unsub in a couple of days, realizing how bad this show sucks, but we appreciate you swinging through for the evening. Mm-hmm. Wes Hockowitz fired off a couple tweets during minicamp today. Mecole Hardman with a hell of a one-handed snag on a 4th and 11 play to end threes. Came after the sack. Clifford snapped ball just before time expired. So Mecole Hardman, little one-handed grab there. And then he goes on to say Malik Heath had a nice day, just caught a deep corner from Clifford in threes. And then another tweet, I don't know which one came before the other, said Malik Heath came free on 3rd and 3 in 2 minutes with 1 for a 31-yard completion. Time runs out, though, after Cooper gets Hardman down, quote down, obviously didn't take him to the ground, 2 yards from the end zone. So you're seeing multiple things there. Mecole Hardman, one-handed grab. You're seeing Malik Heath having a good day. And this is Wes Hockowitz is awesome. His coverage is just, man, you go and listen to him on Packers.com. It's just a breath of fresh air.
Follow him on X too, because look at the posts. 6 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours. These are rapid fire. This is as it's happening, as he's seeing it, and he's calling it like it is. And you got to love Wes, man. Great coverage.
And this is just after, like you were saying, Clay, their pod, that unscripted. I think they did it right before they went on. There'll be another one later this week, and then they're off too. But yeah, man, they just hit some great points, and being able to have them in the building, you know, and then coming out and giving you just a 30-minute just snippet of what's going on. I love them.
Yep.
Yeah, same. So again, the thing that sticks out, Miko Hardman, good day. Malik Heath, good day. And I love that just Cooper, once again, right, gets Hardman down 2 yards from the end zone. Cooper's when was the last time we heard anything negative about Edgerrin Cooper? Seriously, throughout the season last year, the only thing I heard was after he had his best game, the coaches said he needs to be more cap sound. And we're like, damn it, if you guys consider that negative, you know, the way he played on Sunday, we're in good shape.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, when was the last time we heard anything bad about Edgerrin Cooper?
That's kind of one of those things where you file that in there's always something to improve, right? There's always something you can do a little better. So maybe that was the one thing they had to pick on was like, well, you're a little off on your gap integrity. Let's work on that. But, you know, the other 99% of your game is pretty damn good. We'll take it, right?
Yeah. 2-0 for this says the only negative about Cooper is he makes the other linebackers look bad.
Here's a guy.
All right. Speaking of not settling, this is pretty cool. Matt Schneiden put a tweet out. Tucker Kraft said, one thing I feel like I could have done better was separate in man-to-man. Most of my game was checkdowns underneath and yards after the catchability, so I'm looking to put it all together. More on unlocking downfield game while retaining what he does as a blocker. Here's what he had to say when they met with the media immediately following minicamp today.
Absolutely. We'll take like a seam route, for example, like not being able to push my width past my landmark on the field, being able to stretch the field vertical, you know, identifying if, you know, the linebacker in front of me is about to mash me inside or if he's going to drop to the hook. Just, read my keys, triangles in defense, just becoming more efficient pre-snap. But, and then also, as I stated previously, just separating man-to-man.
Bro, he's talking getting better at the vertical game, reading keys with the defense. Like this dude, if he puts together a vertical game, guys, because he was just yak central last year, right? And again, why was he so open on the underneath routes that he's talking about, Emilio? Because Jaden Reed was getting extra attention all year long, right? You're running that deep climb, and then you got Tucker underneath. Just check it down to Tucker. And there was a lot of stuff Jordan left on the field too, man, that he should have checked down to Tucker sooner. So if he creates a vertical game, think from the defense's perspective, they're going, all right, this number 85, listen, guys, we cannot let him get ahead of steam. Let's clamp down on him underneath. Now all of a sudden he hits him with a stick nod and goes vert. Bro, let's go. His hands are there. There's no two ways about it.
Right. Yeah, and he's talked about wanting to be reliable and, you know, be the check down, you know, if you need him, look to him kind of thing. And Jay Love was even talking about it in his presser that they need to get him involved. Like it's going to be a big part of the offense to get Tucker involved this year. And they were asking him, is it something that you can get him downfield, you know, with the ball in his hand? He said, you know, we'll get a little game plan going together. But I think that's something that we do need to kind of focus on. If we can get the ball in Tucker's hands, it's going to help this offense and at least branch out and help other people get a little bit more shine or a little bit more space because they're having to worry about Tuck so much.
No, definitely. 2-0 for this says, I love how our top guys are looking to get better and know their previous best was not good enough. And Tucker, Tim, I don't know if you remember this or not, but locker cleanouts, Tucker was like, it was like he didn't like the vibe in the locker room, right? And it was, hey, I'm going to step up next year, and I'm going to assume more of a leadership role.
Yep.
And again, when you put the numbers up like he did, and we talked about that, we did a pretty extensive breakdown through the history of the Green Bay Packers. Tucker Kraft is off to the fastest start of any Green Bay Packers tight end in history. Mm-hmm. He had more yards as a rookie than anyone, to the best of our knowledge, when we ran that down. And then his second year was better than even Paul Kaufman, if I remember correctly, who I think many would consider to be the best tight end in Packers history. So Tucker Kraft, man, that's a dude you want to be a leader. He just seems like one of those guys. He could put on a bow tie and go eat dinner with the upper crust, and then he'll have a bush latte in a concrete footer pouring concrete with a bunch of construction. You know You know what I mean?
Yeah, while flicking a lung dart, right? You got to love it. It's our guy right there. And, I love what he's saying. Like, hey, I want to go vert a little bit if I can, get a chance. And we talked about Tuck. He's a big dude, got good hands, but I think what we sleep on is the agility in the wheels. Like he can move for a big hog molly tight end that he is. And I don't see a problem with maybe catching the defense sleeping a little bit and sending him on a 9 route or something straight up the sideline and just float one into him, let him make a contested catch or something in one-on-one coverage. I'm all for it. But bottom line is, his comments, like you said, Clayton, last year about he didn't like kind of the vibe or the attitude in that locker room as we had a disappointing end to our season. It sounds a lot like what Josh Jacobs was saying about his last years in Vegas with the Raiders. And he was not happy with the level of intensity or expectations from his teammates as guys were, laughing and still having a good time, even though they lost and they mailed it in. Maybe that's kind of what Tucker was talking about. And he's kind of putting it on himself to, demand the best from himself and lead by example. And hopefully everyone else kind of embraces that. I don't know who coined that old term, right? Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is your better and your better is your best. That's what you want to do. You have to pursue that excellence, man. And, that's the Lombardi way, right? That's what we do here in Titletown. And when you got guys like Tucker Kraft that exemplify that is super contagious in the locker room. And you're going to get guys bought in and rallying around each other. And if you want to win a Super Bowl, this is the type of attitude and work ethic that you need to have. And just grateful to have a guy like Tucker on our team, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Goody knocked that one out of the park. And again, if he had just settled on Musgrave, we wouldn't have found Tucker. And that doesn't mean that Musgrave can't turn into a great player, but that's one of the reasons why when you got a need, double dip. And what do we do at receiver this year? Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, right? So you never know which one's going to pan out. I mean, you look at it, safety too. We safety the same year, right, Emilio? You went Javon Bullard in the second.
Evan in Home Depot.
Yeah,
Yes,
we went 3. There you go.
And picked up Omar Brown too for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if I remember correctly, I don't think I've got it. Actually, I do here. That draft, when it came to safeties, Javon Bullard was my second best safety in the draft. Katan Oladapo was third.
Mm-hmm.
Got the second and third best safeties on our draft board in that draft. And Evan Williams was one that we missed on. We had him quite a bit lower. But nonetheless, wasn't at the bottom.
No,
he was on the radar. He just wasn't
top 10, maybe.
Yeah,
we had him lit up green too, saying, "Hey, this is somebody that's primed to be a Packers pick." Now, however, Katan Oladapo was in purple. He was one of only 7 or 8 players that we had identified that year.
Right.
So, pretty cool. I love looking back at those old draft boards, kind of see what we were at. Let's go to the chat. Greg Rice says more targets for Kraft. Please, completely agree on that. Ron Samble in the chat said, I've always loved offenses that use tight ends as primary target. Seems to open up the whole offense. It really does, man. When you can attack the middle of the field and you get that defense starting to clamp in, and then you got the arm talent that you have with Jordan Love that can take the top off the defense. Imagine them clamping on Jaden Reed like they did last year. And now they got to be more aware of Tucker. So now you've got 2 guys you got your eye on. Now all of a sudden you got Matthew Golden running a go route. That's going to really open things up, right? And then if you get Christian Watson back in October, how awesome would that be? You got half of the year with Christian Watson on one side and Matthew Golden on the other. And then, of course, you're mixing in your Jaden Reed, your Romeo Dobbs, your Dontavion Wicks. Dontavion Wicks has got a lot to prove this year. He does, man. He's one, like, obviously he's not a camp casualty, nomination there by no stretch of the imagination. He'll be on this roster if he's healthy. But he's got an opportunity to say, hey, look, guys, I am that dude that I showed you I was my rookie year. And hopefully he could do that. So moving along here, 2-0 for this says Tucker, Cooper, X, and Jacobs are going to bring this team to the next level with their leadership. It's a great point. And you got a couple of young guys and a couple of veterans, right? How cool is that? You got a couple of young guys on one, Tucker Kraft being young on offense. You've got Edgerrin Cooper, young dude on defense. Then you got the Wally vet and Xavier McKinney on defense. And you got the Wally vet and Josh Jacobs on offense. That's a good little blend there for sure. Ed Madden says, I want to see Musgrave up the seam too, but he needs to block better to get the opportunities. Blocking's definitely not his game, Ed. I agree with you there. And he's got a ton of potential. I was way more excited about him in the draft process. I had Musgrave significantly higher than Kraft. Actually, no, I didn't. That year we had Kraft. That was the first year I covered the draft with Ryan, and I did the old school board back here.
Right.
I had Tucker Kraft like 2 or 3 spots below Musgrave. I was really high on Musgrave. And I got to be honest with you guys. That's, if you see it, you got to say it. What I seen on the college tape when he was healthy has not translated to the NFL, at least to this point with Musgrave. So hopefully,
No block, no rock.
There you go. Hopefully that does come into focus for sure. So, all right. Anything else on offense, boys, before we wrap up this hour here?
I would add Big E to that list of veteran leaders once we sort this whole contractual crap out, get the business side done. I think I'm looking for Elgton Jenkins to be that vocal stand-up leader on that O-line, because we know Zach Tom is elite of the elite, right? But he's not the most, rah-rah, yelling, motivating type of dude. I think Elgton Jenkins moving to center, maybe getting a rework deal, staying here for the next couple of years. He feels comfortable. I think he settles into that role and really helps Jay Love move that offense down the field. So I would look to him to be another one of those lead by example guys once they sort this crap out.
Absolutely.
You good on offense, Emilio? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, no, I just Musgrave, we're going to ask him to block. He's just going to need to attempt.